Hello and welcome to CadoinkStudios. Today I have spawning in the bottom left of Cloud Kingdom Barbarossa, the blue Protoss player, and his opponent spawning in the top right of Cloud Kingdom is ImustnotfeaR, the red Zerg. This was of course sent to me by Barbarossa. Did I say Barbossa? I've been thinking a lot about Pirates of the Caribbean, but Barbarossa sent me this replay. He is a member of NoN-eSports, the German team who has been sending me tons of replays in the past few weeks. And the reason I didn't cast this a lot earlier is the past 2 weeks I've been getting ready to move and moving. In fact, the past 4 or 5 days was me driving to Kansas, getting into my apartment, buying furniture, buying things, setting up furniture, setting up things, getting my roommates in, helping them set up things, and just getting acclimated to being here. And now I'm here, I have internet, I have time, and I'm going to be casting some StarCraft 2, so I thought the first thing I would cast is a high-level game. So NoN-eSports is a German team, and they are very high master players, master to high master. They have many players who frequently play against Grandmaster players on the ladder, and so they are on EU, being that they're a German team. And I've been very fortunate that they have found my YouTube channel and decided to send me replays to cast, so I'm very thankful for that. And so we will be rooting for Barbarossa. Man, I gotta go watch Pirates of the Caribbean after this and get that name out of my head. So we'll be rooting for him, as he is going for a Forge Fast Expand, the completely normal thing, probably the most common thing in the PvZ matchup, which I actually think is most likely the most difficult matchup currently in the game. Just based on the metagame and how things have been progressing, PvZ seems to be the most volatile matchup, just the craziest matchup. I don't know how else to describe it. There's been so many players experimenting with things, and a player will pop up with something great like Baneling drops, and oh, it'll be the Rage, and then it'll kind of die off and they'll go back to the Roach versus Stalker Colossus army. And then another player will come up with a build that's mass sentry and high amounts of Stalkers and no Colossi, and it'll be all the Rage, and then it'll kind of stream back to Roaches versus Stalkers versus Colossi. It's just kind of been a very interesting matchup, and it's kind of been bouncing back and forth, with Zergs coming up with new things, and then Protoss coming up with new things, but all kind of centered around a very interesting metagame, a very interesting matchup. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's been very cool. And so we'll see what Barbossa decides to do. He's getting his gateway up, getting his Nexus as well. The Zerg player getting up 2 hatcheries at this time, and just droning up. Not as much as I'd like to see, just 2 drones popping out at this time. Got to make sure he's hitting those injects and continuing to produce drones, because that's kind of the most important thing as a Zerg player. You want to drone up, build units at the last second. You see some Zerglings coming in, attacking these rocks a little bit. They won't do any damage. They're just going to scout in. Zergling will indeed die, and a Cybernetics core will go down shortly after for Barbarossa. And he's just continuing to do the good thing. He's getting his probes up and running. He is chrono boosting like a boss toss. And he's getting that double assimilator up, so we might see some earlier higher tech play. Probably an earlier robo. We might see a Stargate, something that's very, very common on this map. Go 1 gate, then build a Stargate, pop out a few Phoenixes, and see if you can pick off some Queens, pick off some drones, these sort of things. And they can be useful just to scout around the map and deny Overlords. Trying to find them, but they're all Zerglings. Here's an Overlord, there's one over here. And it's just a good way to deny those. Zerg player is getting up another Queen, as well as continuing to drone. Going to finally be getting his first Extractor. Most likely, actually 2 Extractors. Maybe just to get some Zergling speed up early, he might want to put down that Roach Horn, but I love this. Splitting up your Extractors, very high level thinking. If he has 1 Extractor here, it might fool his opponent into thinking he has more, and if his opponent only sees 1 here, it might fool his opponent into thinking he has less. So we can see in the production tab, Barbarossa is indeed going for that Stargate play. Where is that Stargate? There it is, nice and hidden in the back. If any Overlords try to fly in from here, a Stalker 2 will kill it. If any fly in from here, Stalker 2 will kill it. So it's a nice hidden play. However, it doesn't really need to be that secretive. It's something that's been so common in PvZ that Zergs have just kind of dealt with it. This is kind of one of the things I was talking about at the beginning of the map, beginning of the game, excuse me, is we had this Stalker Colossus army versus Roach for a long time, and then Protoss players figured, oh man, if I pop out some early Phoenixes, I can go attack his production and do a lot of damage. And then that was all the rage, and then Zerg players dealt with that by putting down a little bit of a Zergling run by putting down Spore Crawlers and putting down a few more Queens if they need to. These Zerglings going to do some nice bit of scouting in the natural, but they will... Ooh, Zergling might get up into the main. Oh, he's just going to make it, and a Stalker's going to deny him the opportunity to see that Stargate. Barbarossa being very smart, keeping his units rallied close to his base so he can get up a few of them. Looks like he wants to have about 3, and then he'll probably move out at about 3. That's a pretty good number. But ImustnotfeaR is doing some good things as well. He's looking very strong. He's getting up a evolution chamber, we can see in the production tab, so he will be able to make some Spore Crawlers if he needs to. Queens might be able to handle themselves just fine. Also getting some Spine Crawlers up, no problem. If you're worried about any kind of attack early on, put some Spine Crawlers up. You need that drone count to be high, but you really don't want to build units. And so if you can avoid not building units, do it. And Spine Crawlers are one of the best ways to do that. It only costs 1 drone, which is not that much larva. So it's a very great resource to have. And we can see that ImustnotfeaR having some very good game sense is putting down Spore Crawlers in his base preemptively. We also see an Overlord flying into Barbarossa's base. And wow, look at this, Barbarossa turtling up quite heavily, getting his robotics facility, but getting 2 more cannons as well as some sentries, so he can force field this ramp off no problem. He's also going to be getting that +1 armor for his units. Going to be very helpful early on in the game, help his Zealots survive a little bit longer, as well as his sentries and Stalkers. And we can see the Zerg players actually getting Ventral Sacks as well as Overlord speed. So wow, and that Glial Reconstruction. So it looks like he wants to be doing some sort of drop. And finally the Phoenixes are coming and revealing themselves, going to be picking off a few Overlords. Oh, that's so annoying. However, luckily for ImustnotfeaR, he is a good player and he built those Spore Crawlers early. These Roaches could actually get picked off, which would be annoying as well. Man, Barbarossa being very active, getting these Overlords if he can. Queen taking some shots onto the Phoenixes, slipped my mind for a second, and now he's going to be able to pick off this Queen as well as this Overlord. But probably not going to get any drone kills. The most important thing about this play, going to be taking more damage than he probably should get that Queen. There he goes, picking off the Queen. The important thing for Barbarossa is he sees this infestation pit. He sees the Roach Warren. He sees 2 gas here. He's probably, let's see, I don't know if he's seen any more gas. Let's see how much. No, he hasn't seen any gas there, but he has seen 1 there. He's just getting some good scouting information. He knows that his opponent is going to be going for Roaches, and probably going for a little bit of an earlier hive, seeing as this infestation pit is out at a very nice time. And so, if he puts down a Spire right now, he can get up to hive very quickly, considering how much gas he has. All the gas, in fact, and a 4th base going up. So, Barbarossa knows that this is a possibility. Picking off some drones, which is always quite nice. He knows that this base is up, and so he can start dealing with it accordingly. He's getting up some Immortals just to make sure that he can tank those Roaches. He's getting some Stalkers. He's always going to need Stalkers, especially in the late game. And he's just working on his infrastructure. He's getting up Colossi to deal with Zerglings and Broodlings. He's getting up his +1 attack for all those units. Looks like he's got a Twilight Council on the way, so he can get +2 immediately afterwards. Probably going to be getting Blink as well. Such a great spell. And continually scouting with his Phoenixes. It's just fantastic play by him. He's being very active. He's even taking a secret base up in the top left. I don't know if I like this decision. It's kind of risky, and you really want this base to be protected, and that's 400 minerals that could be protecting this base. Could be a few more cannons. And that base is just risky. And here comes a Zergling run by from ImustnotfeaR surrounding this Nexus. It looks like he is going to... No, maybe he won't have to cancel his army, coming just in time. A little force field to make sure that they don't swing by and try to just suicide for it. And there we go. We have the hive being started for ImustnotfeaR as these Zerglings swing by. I love this, doing these little counterattacks while he's trying to work up to Broodlords, but a nice warp in by Barbarossa, preventing those Zerglings from getting in. So yeah, we have the Hive on the way, as well as this Spire. Going to be going for Broodlords for sure, getting that +2 attack for his little Broodlings. And so it'll take him about 4 minutes from when this Hive started to get to the point where he's going to have Broodlords. So that's the amount of time Barbarossa has to deal with this. And so we can see he's getting Blink. Blink is almost finished. And he's also getting Thermal Lance, extended Thermal Lance for his Colossi. So he wants to have a Colossi heavy army with Stalkers and some good upgrades. And this will be very, very nice. You can have the Colossi sit in the back and deal with the Broodlings. And then if you get good position, you can blink forward and try to pick off the Broodlords. And then if it gets ridiculous where they have tons of Corruptors and they have too many Zerglings and Infestors to fungal growth, then you can start worrying about getting a Mothership up and getting some Archons and starting to do some Archon toilet sort of deal. We have Barbarossa transferring his probes over. It looks like his 4th base isn't doing that much mining, but he's getting some assimilators up, which really, gas is the big thing he needs right now. He's really low, only sitting at about 300, and he wants to continue those upgrades, getting +2 at this time, as well as some more gateways. And so he really wants to kind of gear up to getting a bigger, more macro army with the Mothership, with those units, and some Zerglings getting caught off. A huge blunder by ImustnotfeaR, and some great force fields by Barbarossa, managing to pick off those Zerglings. So annoying. It will clear up some supply, but ImustnotfeaR doesn't have anything to worry about as far as supply. Continuing to produce Roaches, continuing to produce Corruptors, as well as his +1 range attack for his Roaches. The other thing I really like is he's continuing to get Spinecrawlers. Spinecrawlers so good in the late game. There are many situations where a Zerg player would have won an engagement. Oh, and a nice little Zergling drop in the base. It'd be so annoying, but it looks like Barbarossa dealt with it just fine. But as I was saying, so many situations where a Zerg player could have held off an attack had he had more Spinecrawlers in his base to just kind of pick at those Stalkers, keep the Stalkers from blinking forward underneath the Broodlord. So I love this play by him. Also prevent Zealot run-bys and things like that that can hurt your economy. As we can see in the production tab, Barbarossa's getting that Dark Shrine up, as well as the Fleet Beacon, and dealing with some little attacks here and there. He's going to be warping in a ton of gateways. So why is he going Dark Shrine? Everyone here's Wind Behind Dark Shrine as a drop of Roaches go up into the north, which will pick off this base just fine. Barbarossa shouldn't have taken the secret base. This would have been a lot easier to defend. In fact, he's going to take it now, and this will go down. But anyway, why the Dark Shrine? Well, Archons are kind of gas-heavy. In fact, High Templar are very gas-heavy units, and so you can save a little bit of gas if you go for the Dark Shrine and go for DTs. He's not going to try to swoop in and do any kind of Dark Templar attacks. He's just going to be using those for the Archon in the late game. In fact, he's warping an 8 at a time while doing this attack. And look at this position. So great. The Broodlords are just now coming in, attacking these Stalkers. The Stalkers really need to get out of the way, but a nice fungal growth going down, allowing them to not move, and some force fields going down so the Infestors can't get close enough, and now he will be pulling back as he has to. His army very low on Stalkers. He needs to be warping in some more back at home. But look at this, he's got this nice little Dark Templar army he can use to make a ton of Archons, and the Archons are going to be so effective against these Broodlords. And he's also just going to sit back and take this 4th base and kind of defend it. Most normally Protoss players take this one, which he is taking as kind of his 5th base, I guess. So not a big deal. Also, we can see he's getting +2 armor, as well as his +1 shields, and he's got that Mothership almost about done, morphing in a few Archons as well. And Barbarossa, ImustnotfeaR is also doing some good things. He's getting some Overseers up so that he does not have to worry about the cloaked units. In fact, here they are. He's also going to be getting that the Flyer armor, +1 Flyer armor, which will help his Broodlords. It'll also help his Corruptors out quite a bit. He really wants those Corruptors to be strong so that he can take up a Mothership, as well as the Colossi. And I think there might be a few Phoenixes still flying around. Ah, yes indeed, they just got completely destroyed. Another reason you want those Corruptors to be a little bit stronger. And so we can see Barbarossa, he's just sitting back. He does not want to deal with this army until he has a nice Archon toilet, until he has the Vortex. You know, he's scouting around with some Dark Templar, but he's not doing that much damage. There's enough detection. All the bases have Spore Crawlers. But he's building some cannons at this base right here just to make sure it's defended, has some DTs. DTs can work as a defense as well. Sometimes Zerglings will swing by and they're not going to have an Overseer with them, and you can use the DTs to deal with that. But he will, of course, just be morphing them into Archons as soon as I say that. Looks like ImustnotfeaR wants to be going on some sort of attack at this point. I think that's a good move. He wants to be denying bases from Barbarossa. Barbarossa cannot get minerals. He does not need minerals. If you can kill a base, kill a second base, you'll be in good shape. And here comes an engagement. The Protoss army blinking forward, catching a lot of these Broodlords off guard. This is a huge blunder by ImustnotfeaR. Oh man, I do not like this play, going and attacking this early. Everything going down a huge vortex, everything going in at the Archons, the Infestors, some Broodlords. Oh my goodness, and another pack coming out there. Spread out too thin, they just weren't able to do any damage. He should have kept them together, spread out, but not too spread out. And oh man, the Archon toilet popping. All these Corruptors going down very, very quickly. The Stalker's getting underneath the Broodlords, and he is going to pull back a bit. You see how strong these Broodlords are in numbers? If you can keep them together, and by together I don't mean in a clump, I mean like some here, some up here, and some up here, that army would have just been crushed. But the positioning was so good for Barbarossa, and now he can just run forward and try to deny the space from ImustnotfeaR. These Spine Crawlers helping out a bit, but it would help out even more if the Spine Crawlers were backed by these Broodlords, but the Broodlords moving so slow. Barbarossa, knowing this, is going in for a kill, killing that base off, and now just backing away. Great thinking. You don't have to do any more damage than that. Plus, there's a Zergling counterattack coming by. It's going to be able to pick off this fourth base of Barbarossa. He's warping in some DTs. This is exactly what I was talking about. There's no detection, so these DTs can deal with all the Zerglings just fine. A great defense by Barbarossa. And then when he's done, morph him into Archons. Another Archon toilet. Man, just great play by Barbarossa, saving this base at the last minute. Man, 33 hit points on that. Oh, this is just a crazy game. Such high-level play by both of these players. Yeah, wow. So, Barbarossa luckily has this base up here. He did not lose any probes in that little counterattack. He will be building some pylons around this just to protect it. Very smart play. You can't you can't repair Nexi, so you can just kind of surround them with pylons so that when a Zergling run-by comes, they can't snipe it. In fact, that looks like what ImustnotfeaR is trying to do. He's moving his Broodlords into position. Is there another Vortex on the field? No, there's not. This engagement will have to happen without a Vortex. These Archons going in and doing a lot of damage to the Corruptors. The Corruptors are taking a lot of shots on the Mothership, and the Mothership goes down, and now there's no more detection. There's no more Vortex possibility. These Colossi are in a lot of trouble due to these Corruptors, but the Stalkers are underneath all the Broodlords, and the Broodlords are going down very, very quickly. The Archon's finally getting that nice concave onto the Broodlords, and oh my goodness, the Zerg army just getting absolutely slaughtered there, and Barbarossa is just going to move on forward and pick off this base, no problem, leaving the Zerg player down to just one mining base, a second one being built, but it's not yet finished. Ooh, and a DT coming in just to make sure, just to add insult to injury. Some more Stalkers coming in to reinforce this army. That's exactly what he needs at this time. The Archons will deal with any kind of Zergling play, as that's kind of the only thing ImustnotfeaR could reinforce. Fortunately for him, he doesn't have any more money left, and the little he has is being dumped into Corruptors. So it looks like Barbarossa has this one in the bag. He's going to be taking out this hatchery. Boom, no more mining for ImustnotfeaR. Looks like, oh, this looks so bad for the Zerg player. He's sending his drones down to do some long distance mining, but at this point it doesn't matter. Barbarossa could just go in for the kill if he wants to. Might just pull back and wait for the Mothership that is being produced at this time. +3 armor as well. +2 or 3, and oh, ImustnotfeaR leaves the game without even GGing. Yeah, sad loss. And oh, look at that. There's a base down at the bottom right I didn't see. Oh, but it was getting crushed by DTs. Yep. There was nothing left for ImustnotfeaR. Barbarossa playing so well. Just so impressed by him. So anyway, I'm Cadoink, and this is my channel, CadoinkStudios. I hope you enjoyed this cast. If you did, please subscribe to my channel or comment. Commenting is like my favorite thing. When I wake up in the morning and I check my phone and it has a little email and it says so-and-so has commented on such and such video, it just brings me into a great mood, and I generally have a great day after that. So please just comment, say hey, say how's it doing, have some conversations down there, and subscribe, of course. Anyway, if you really like Barbossa's play, which I did, I'm definitely going to check out more of his games. You should check out NoN-eSports. They're a fantastic team who've been sending me games. They're high-level masters, as I said before. I will be posting their link in the bottom description bar, so you can go to their website and see all that they have to offer. And if you read German, it'll be even better for you. Finally, if you'd like to send me your replays to have them cast, just send them on over to CadoinkReplays@gmail.com. There will be a link in the description bar. And you can send me your replays now that I'm here and settled and moved and in Kansas and have my own little study and a lot of time. And I'll be back in school, so I'll have a schedule. I can cast your games. I'll be trying to cast a game every day like I was back when I was in school a couple of months ago. Trying to get a game up every single day. And yeah, so I'm going to need replays, so send them on in. And thank you so much for watching, guys. I can't wait to cast more games for you guys, and I will see you guys later.